bop, bop. All right, everybody. We're live on YouTube. It's the Axel birthday podcast. We're chilling. We haven't started the podcast yet. This is a little early stuff. I want to see if we can live. Oh, no, you can only live stream to one place. I was seeing if I could try to live stream this to multiple places through Zoom, but we're early to this. We'll pick it up soon enough. Let me run over to the old
Does this sound any different now?
uh no, I don't know what's going on. I still kind of feel like it's just not as sharp. Usually you're so sharp sounding.
Yeah. Hmm.
But you sound good enough for us to do a podcast today, Andy. Like I
Okay.
can hear
Well,
you.
you know what? You know what it probably is that when I got that new computer that I've been using for the last month or so, it probably sounded better. And now I went back to one of my older computers, it probably doesn't sound as good. That might be
Yeah,
what it
because
is.
but it's okay. It's still you're definitely, you know what? It may be one of those cases in which I'm the only one who can tell the difference, as frequently
That's
happens. And whenever
because you
that
got that finely
happens,
tuned ears. Yes.
well, I mean, it was my job for many
I
years
know.
to edit audio and
That's
video. So
I was not joking. I was being
yeah,
serious. That's 100%.
no, I appreciate that. Yeah, it really, I mean, you have to be able to tell, like you got to
Mm-hmm.
really, and especially audio is the number one thing that video guys mess up. And if you're ever watching someone shoot video without headphones on, you know that they are like, what are you doing? Like I
Have
do
no
it for my
idea.
son's basketball game. I leave the camera and I turn it all the way down because we're just going to put music over it.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it's I can't tell you how many times whenever I taught video production, I was always like, put headphones on, please. Do you shoot video with your eyes closed? Do you just close your eyes and press record? That's what
Yeah.
you're doing.
Yeah. Just press record and just wave it around if you catch something good enough, I guess, huh?
Yep. We are live. Come join us. This is a fun part. What do you got to say, Ando? Liven it up while I'm typing. You
I
having
don't
a
know
good
what.
day?
Yeah, I worked all morning and then I get to talk to you this afternoon on your birthday celebration pod. So it's gotta, I mean, can it really get any better than that? Probably not.
I know. It's amazing. I will say last night though, I did notice that see, I feel like I have to turn myself down. I did notice last night that is your internet a little funky the last couple days or something? You guys were freezing up a couple times.
Well, we were. I didn't notice
Yeah.
anything, but hmm. Well, it is possible that happens sometime around here. I mean, it's not we don't have we're supposed to get fiber here in the next couple of years, but we're still on it's a form of wireless internet here, so sometimes it can be a little wonky. I noticed
Yeah.
froze up once or twice, but I didn't think it was too bad. But maybe it
Yeah.
was worse than I thought.
Well, I wasn't sure whether it was me because I was doing the stream, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like I had like Lachlan get off his video game.
Hmm.
So I was
He
like,
did he did come onto the YouTube and make a comment. Did you
I
see that
saw
or hear
that.
that?
Yeah, yeah, I
Okay.
did see that. That was fun.
I laughed pretty hard when I saw that. That was good
Yeah.
stuff.
Let's see. Okay. All right. Oh, did I say birthdaw podcast or birthday? Oh, birthday. Okay, it
On
must
YouTube,
be.
it says birthday. You're good there, I think.
All right. So we are going good. People, I don't know. We'll try to check the chat every once in a while if we remember.
Yeah,
But
I have my iPad sitting right next to me because I put that on cell service so it doesn't drain my Wi-Fi and I've got it playing next to us so I can see
awesome.
if we get anything.
That sounds good to me, pal.
We currently have two viewers and I'm one of them, so we're going good.
Oh, right. And the other one is Grandpa James. We love you, baby. Here we go. I'm going to start the pod, Ando.
Let's do it.
Welcome back, everyone. It's my birthday. Happy birthday to me. Welcome to Daily DVR. It's a special episode. It's June 11th, 2025. I'm 51 years old, but goddamn, I'm handsome and I have great hair. I'm here with Ando. We're going to be just talking a bunch of shit. Go to dvrpodcast.com, catch up on our coverage of Duster, catch up on our coverage of Sirens. Tomorrow I record the finale with Anne at 10 o'clock in the morning. Let's see if I can wake up that early after partying with Lego all night long at
Those
my
Lego
house.
parties are kind of off the hook. They get a little out of control.
You know, it reminds me of that classic song. You don't have to take your clothes off to have a good time. Uh-huh. We can build Lego and
You're
drink
gonna
some
make me
cherry
start.
wine.
You're gonna make me start coughing, like have a coughing fit before we even get started here.
I know. I'm sorry. I got into it. Well, yeah, go to all that website. And if you're live, thank you for checking in.
Oh, it's
Subscribe
hold
to us
on.
on YouTube.
Breaking news. It's not Grandpa James watching. It is
Oh.
Mr. Kellum Wick is watching.
Oh, Kellum!
Happy birthday, Axel. Watching from work, so won't be able to stay for the whole time. Just wanted to drop in with birthday
Oh.
wishes. Hope you have a great
Oh
day.
man, Kellum, man, I love you, bro. You are like a bright light in our lives, seriously. And I feel like you are the fifth member of Around the Couch, you
Oh, for
know?
sure.
And I just love that. And we are actually going to talk some football today. So I really appreciate that. Thank you, Kellum, a super patron, supporter of all of us from the very beginning. He is the man. We love
We'll have
him.
to
We
hold
thank
off on the
him.
football talk to the very end, so he has to watch the entire show at work.
No, no, we want to get into it. But first, I have a special, very special treat for everyone here. It is my birthday, and every year on my birthday, there's two things that I like to do. I like to do something special for someone else that I love because it's my birthday and everyone's like, it's your birthday, we love you. And I just, I'm a kind of person I like to think about other people. So usually on my birthday, I try to do something for my son, my wife, my friend, just tell them I love them or reach out to someone, tell them I appreciate them. And I also like to buy myself a birthday gift. And I did wake up today and I went over to Yellow Castle Bricks in Oregon City, which is amazing. And if you're in Oregon, go there. Best Lego store in the seriously, it's better than the Lego store for the parts. I love it. I hung out with my man John, chatted with him. Ando, I'm going there on Friday, and it is buy one, get two, any size bag of the I guess they call it the brick table, where just the Lego is just you just pick little parts.
Uh-huh.
So I'm buy one, get two. So that means you walk out with three. So I'm gonna get their largest bucket, which is like $30, and I'm gonna get three of those things. And I'm basically gonna walk out of there with like a tub of Lego. I
You're gonna
already
clean
told
out
John.
half the pick-a-brick section. You're gonna clean it out yourself, right?
Yes, and he is actually he has told me I'm saving some stuff for you, man, because he's got like boxes and boxes of great new. That's the thing with him. There's four places around here where you can go to get Lego parts, and they're just tables full of Lego pieces that if you're a collector and you build yourself, you pick the pieces you want. Some pieces are more desirable than others, obviously. The classic big bricks are like nobody needs that shit, right? That's what you
I
build
know
underneath.
I know when you took me to a couple of those when I was out there, I said it's a good thing I flew here because I had a limit of how much I could take back.
Yeah. It's
So,
uh it's pretty awesome. But John in particular, he puts out newer sets which have the newer pieces. Andy knows what I'm
oh,
talking about. So this is
yes.
like the weird pieces you find in Speed Champions, new Harry Potter sets, new Space, new Friends sets.
Hmm.
He will break those down and put those in the thing, whereas the bricks and minifigs tends to separate out all the more expensive pieces and charge you extra for them, which I
Yep.
can't blame them, right? That's what they do. So I'm going to go over there and I'm going to get a bunch of stuff on Friday. Because I didn't want to ask him to do it early. And plus, it's fun to, everybody will be there. You talk to people, you have a good time.
And you do like to talk to everybody that's in the Lego stores. So
I talk too fucking much, Andy. I have to, all the time, I have to leave. Like, stop bothering people.
for anybody that's watching, walking into Axel with a Lego store is like walking into Cheers when Norm walks in. That's
Well, that was, that you saw, it is kind of like, I have to say, they do treat me well at the Bricks and Minifigs. They were very impressed by my garden that I built,
and it was
so
awesome. Yes,
thank
they
you.
should have
I
been. I
appreciate
was
that.
impressed too.
Well, I really do appreciate that because I've created a lot of stuff in my life, a lot of movies, a lot of fucking videos and movies, a lot, hundreds of them that I've shot, edited, directed, be little ones to longer ones. I've written hundreds of articles that have been published in magazines and in newspapers. I made a kid. Well, I halfway made a kid. I did the easy part. Um,
Thousands of
but
hours of podcasts you've made.
thank you, thousands of hours of podcasts. But I will admit something to you, Andy, and it's rare that I say it, talk about it, but it is true. The things that I have been the most amazed at that I have created, like I made it, and then I look at it again, and I'm like, I made that? Holy shit. Like, what the fuck? How did I make that? Like, what the hell possessed me to do this? Like that I've been shocked at. There's a couple videos I made where I was like, wow, I did a good job. But the Lego stuff is the most rewarding. It's honestly the most rewarding I've ever experienced of creation. I mean, the podcast is different because you guys are involved.
Yeah.
So that's rewarding in a different way.
Well, in Lego stuff, I mean, it's the same thing. Well, not the same thing, but it's similar to just building something. It's a different kind of satisfaction when you can build something and look at it and see the finished product. And
Yep.
it's a different feeling.
And it's because too, when I was a kid, I made videos by taking two VCRs, three VCRs, stringing them together, counting how long it took after I hit pause or record for it to wind, taking a
Uh,
piece of post-it note or paper and sticking it on the VCR, 3 seconds rewind, 3 seconds. I had a whole thing down, and that's how I edited 10, 20 15 to half hour movies that I made with my friends in Springfield, New Jersey, just like that,
hmm
right? I was the editor. And I was the cameraman too. And so I always dreamed of doing digital, right? Like, oh my God, once I could do anything like and then the one day I sat in front of iMovie, Mike Hull was there with me, and I was crying my eyes out. I seriously was crying. It's not even a joke. And the guy who was teaching us, this guy Jolly, he knew why I was crying because, right? Mike was kind of like,
hmm
what's wrong with this dude? And Jolly was like, this is fucking amazing, isn't it? I was like, dude, I've dreamt of doing this my whole life. I mean, I'm so excited that I can edit now.
That sounds like there's some documentaries made about Jurassic Park with Stan Winston talking, and when he
Yeah.
realized that computer generated stuff would take over his model working, and
Yep.
it sounds exactly like his reaction there. He's like, "Well, I guess our job is done here. We're kind of because it was such a
But for
drastic
me,
change and
I'm
stuff."
like the
Yeah,
digital person. You
yeah,
know what I'm saying? Like, because I
yeah.
never,
You were excited for a good reason. He
yeah,
was not
yeah.
excited for an
It's it.
opposite reason.
That's a great point, though, Andy. With each growth, there is something
Mhm.
that's left behind, and I never had the opportunity. Well, I shouldn't say I did. I edited Super 8 and 8 millimeter film for a
Mhm.
summer class when I was in high school. It's so frustrating. It took so long, and the equipment. So that was amazing. But when I actually took the time, did the first Lego sort, and sorted all my parts and saw what I had, and then I went and started building, that was
I think you
incredible.
pause your story there for a second because you need to talk about how long it took you to sort. When somebody says sort, they think it's like
Yeah.
sorting laundry or something. Your
Oh,
Lego sort took like weeks and weeks. Like,
months.
yeah,
It
I
took
remember you
so,
get sending pictures every once in a while. And
yeah.
it was like a full-time job.
I had, I probably at that time, I had 5 or 6 tubs full, which you've now
Hmm.
seen in bags. And
Yes.
that all had to be sorted. And then
Yep.
subsequently, I've done sorts in the summer with Lachlan. I'm going to do one after Friday. I tried to go through my old sets and break them down, but that was not very successful because the cars are so fucking cool.
No.
How, how can you break down a Corvette, a Lego Corvette? You can't. I don't
No.
care. I can't take it apart. It's too cool.
No. That's
Um,
stuff I will put back if I don't display it. I will just put it back into the tub in a little plastic bag so I don't even
yeah.
have the temptation of I remember all those bags too. I remember when I was down in your basement with Solo and he looks at me and he's like, I first walked down here, I thought I was in Walter White's basement, and I realized it was bags of Lego instead of blue meth. So
Solo, yeah, Walter Foley. Um,
yes.
but that was so rewarding, man, to sort it and then be able to start building and see what I could actually create. So that is a beautiful thing. It's nice to talk about that, and that's going to be a big part of my birthday. But then I also decided to buy myself another special gift. Kellum's like, when are you going to talk about football, Foley? Um, then I decided to buy myself another special gift, which I will now show to the audience, and maybe they'll want to start being a sponsor of our show. And that is, my friends, the Lord of the Rings Smaug smoking pipe. If you're on YouTube,
So
you can
cool.
see it. It is an official Lord of the Rings smoking pipe that I purchased for 40% off at my local awesome Cannabis Nation dispensary. See, look how it's from Shire Pipes.
I didn't know that
Okay.
Lord of the Rings estate, like the Tolkien estate, actually licensed pipes. That's pretty damn cool.
There are like 15 or 20 different kinds that you can get. You can get shorter ones, longer ones, but I went for the Smaug smoking pipe, which now Ando is taking a look at. Look at that. And because I
That's
had to go,
cool.
right? It got a little
Uh-huh.
GOT vibe going on there too. So I
Yeah.
had to do both of my favorite fantasy worlds, right? Game of
Well, and
Thrones, Lord of the
I was
Rings.
just thinking last night you told Solo and I that you were going to grow your hair out for a long time. You could become
Yeah.
Gandalf the Red.
That is why I got the red pipe too, man.
Yes. I
They
love
had,
it.
yeah, it's very cool. So I'm going to give it a try here live. Of course, it's filled with smoking tobacco only. I mean, it
Yes.
would that doesn't look like marijuana to you, does it? It's a
No,
smoking
no,
pipe.
no.
Wow. Nice. Mm,
It's a great pipe.
man. This is not as exciting for the podcast, but for me it is. Mm. Ooh, I gotta wash my tooth on that too.
These video people, this is why
I
you have to go
like
to
it.
YouTube once in a while to watch. Yes.
That is a smooth end. I created a very little Lego stand. Usually I use this to put my phone on. I
Yeah.
created that. See the wire comes through there? Very,
Well, and
very
now you're going to have to get more Lord of the Rings Lego sets so you can use your pipe at the same
yeah.
time as you're building,
There you go.
like a
Oh
theme
man.
day.
Yes. And while I was driving home after buying this pipe, I listened to Ramble On by Led Zeppelin, where he talks about Mordor and
Hmm.
Gollum and
Hmm.
Lord of the Rings. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But before we do that, I do have a question for Ando because I've been talking nonstop for almost 15 minutes as I usually do.
It's your birthday. I'm just here for your birthday support. So you can
Well,
don't if you don't feel bad about rambling today. It's your day.
I'm going to ramble on.
Yes.
But also, I know that Andy has done this is his third day of
Yeah,
podcasting this
three
week.
days in a
Yeah.
row.
So I figured to myself, I was thinking in the car, I was like, I got to talk a lot today to give Andy a break to just take it in and chill.
And
Like
last
that.
night, Solo and I went 2.5 hours on
Yeah.
like recording, and it was like total of 3 hours after the pre and post show. So,
Yeah. That was a good one, man. I
oh,
liked it.
epic.
Um, but Ando, I do have a question for you. You have a Vikings hat on. Let's talk a little NFL. It's been a while. Um,
Yes.
obviously, the newest news is Aaron Rodgers to the Steelers. Um,
And his
Everyone,
quote today, I just have it in front of me, said, "Joining Tomlin and Steelers is best for the soul, for my soul." So
yes,
A-Rod is already on his same old shit.
it's totally something that, you know what? This is what I have to, Andy, I'm going to surprise you today. I'm going to surprise you. And Kellum is going to be surprised after how much hate I had for Aaron Rodgers. And, personally speaking, I don't agree with him on many of his views, politically, vaccine wise, scientifically. Um, Even some of his hair choices, I'm not really into. The man bun. I don't think I'm doing a man bun. I can't get
No,
myself to do the
no,
man
no, no,
bun.
no. Don't do that.
No, I'm not a man bun
No.
kind of guy. Um, but I have to admit that putting my I have because when it comes to football, I put all that aside. I have to a certain point, of course. I have because we're watching a game, and I have no idea. Well, the way I think about it is, I have no idea what the offensive linemen think or the guy in the equipment. Everybody has
Mm.
their own personal views. He's
Yep.
more than welcome to be a crazy person if he wants to be. I don't care. I don't listen to him. If someone else listens to him, that's their problem. They were going to listen to him no matter what I said. I can't
Hmm.
change their mind. That's his point of view. But as a football player, I have to admit, I love Aaron Rodgers as a football player. And I found myself, I couldn't fucking help it. I was like mad at myself. I was listening to Williamson, Peacock and Williamson, and Matt Williamson is like excited. And he's checking himself too, because I've listened to him long enough to know he doesn't agree with Rogers' weirdness as
Yeah.
well. But he's like, seeing him on the field, man, like that tight spiral. It's Aaron Rodgers. It's a Hall of Famer. It's football. I kind of hope, I hate to say it, Andy, but I kind of hope he does well on the Steelers. I can't help myself thinking of DK Metcalf and Aaron Rodgers being like this big like hookup, like him and DK Metcalf actually kind of following through with his promise, which he's never really done, right? I mean, he's had some good
He
seasons,
had a
but
couple. It's been a few years removed, but he
yeah,
had a couple of those years there where everybody thought he was the next Randy Moss or something.
right. But the next, it was
Yeah.
always right, and he kind
Yep.
of, and maybe it's the team, right, and what they were, and of course, Pete Carroll likes to run the ball, the top, right? He drafted him, right?
Mhm.
Um, but am I crazy, Andy?
I think you are because I think in week one, when like DK Metcalf makes him an amazing catch and everybody talks about DK Metcalf and how great he is, Rodgers will get pissed off and won't throw him the ball for 8 weeks like he did with Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson fucking hates Aaron Rodgers,
I
dude.
am
It's
not
so
I
funny.
am not falling for the Aaron Rodgers crap again. He was
Okay.
a
All right.
I
Yeah.
I do not want him to succeed because I don't want to hear it. I don't want it to be all about Aaron Rodgers again.
Yeah.
Like it's I'm tired of the guy. I want him to
Yeah.
retire and get out of the league. So part
Um,
of that's my Vikings carryover from when he was with the Packers, obviously. But at least when he was the Packers, I can admit he was a great player. He made everybody around him better and everything
yeah.
else. But the last couple of years, I've had enough of the Rodgers train.
Yeah, it's a slow time. He knows that. He wanted to wait. He's very good at marketing, and you can't deny that.
Yeah.
And he always has been. And I appreciate that as far as him wanting to extend his career or, um, I don't know, his power or whatever past football, because his career is going to end, though he keeps holding on. But I don't know. I find it hard to cheer for people to do badly, and I've seen
Okay.
him do well in the past.
Yeah. Well,
But
and I mean, he's what is he? 3, 4 years past? Because even his last couple of years in Green Bay, he was kind of a shell of himself.
it's 6. He did. I think the last time listening to this, what was it? 2017 was the last time he won a playoff game, I think,
It's been a while.
and it has. And those last couple of years, yeah. And of course with the Jets. And I am saying this now, but if one of my boys, the Williams brothers or Jermaine Johnson or somebody on the Jets decides that they want to break Aaron Rodgers' leg Joe Theismann style on the sixth play of the game, I am not going to be upset. Of course, I will be cheering, but I don't know. I now that all this has happened and gone through with the Jets and everything, I'm just thinking, hey, look, go out there, play the game, let's see what happens. But you're right, talking about it. I'm kind of sick of it. I want to
Well, and
see what happens.
what I hope happens is both Brees Hall and Garrett Wilson have career years this year, and everybody realizes, huh, maybe they weren't the problem. Maybe the problem left the team.
Well, yeah, maybe when you get two of the best offensive weapons that a team has drafted in like a decade in the same draft, you should build your team around them and not try to find an old motherfucker who wants all the attention and who
Yep.
also doesn't like to listen to his offensive coordinator, which is let's see if that happens in Pittsburgh, right? Like you're saying.
Yeah.
He goes out there, he keeps you're like, why isn't he hiking the ball? He's changing the play again. What down is
Yep.
it? First down. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Like, he's not listening to the coordinator. He's not even going with the scripted plays to start the game. That is what killed him. And that is something that no one is talking about. So I think if we can add anything from this discussion, is that as a Jets fan, when I listen to Jets people talk, that's what they say. When I listen to other people talk, they like to talk about his off the field stuff, right? Look at the
Mhm.
stats. He did good. Oh, everyone complains off the field. But if you compare his stats, but as a Jets fan, I can tell you, those stats came at a cost. And that cost was he takes no chances, he doesn't run anymore, he only throws to the people he wants to throw to, and he knows he's going to throw to them before the play even starts.
And he doesn't have his athletic. He used to be when he like his prime years in Green Bay, he was doing those same things, but his athletic ability was better. He could get away with it.
Yeah,
And that it's declined enough that he can't get away with that style of play anymore. And I think what the important thing here though is we have another comment from Kellum,
nice.
and he says, "I'm with Ando on this. I want the Rogers Clown show to be over." So I
Love you,
can't say it
Kellum.
any better than
You're right.
Kellum.
You're right. Hey, I needed to get it out.
Yes.
Like I said, I always like being wrong and learning. And I have to work through this enough to say to kind of expunge those the football love I have and to see
Hmm.
that that doesn't really exist anymore. So, Will McDonald the fourth, please, rain havoc on Aaron Rodgers in the backfield on the first game will make everybody happy. Now,
Yes.
let's talk a little bit about Kellum's team. Do you think, what are some of the additions? I'm trying to think to myself too. What are some of the additions that the Bills have made this season? And coming in now, we're almost at training camp and I guess like a month or something like that. This is a quiet OTAs or wait, the OTAs happen. What, this is mandatory now?
Yeah,
What's happening now?
mandatory is right now. Yep.
But they're not doing it's walkthroughs, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because there's still players not playing. Like
Yeah.
I'm looking at a headline here, like um there's some guys holding out and some guys not play. So I mean it's still super early.
Yeah. Watt is
I'm not
holding out on Pittsburgh, but they
yep,
say it's not a big deal though.
and
But
Hendrickson from the Bengals, Terry McLaurin from the or the Commanders are all holding out as
that's
well.
what every Jet fan wants them to trade for McLaurin. He's been
Oh,
on the
he's awesome.
radar of the Jets since Rodgers left, and people are saying who would be a good. Maybe what they're thinking is that there might be some kind of thing going on with McLaren Lazard, like a kind of a three-way.
Mm. Well, McLaren's awesome. He's one of the most underrated players in the league, I think.
Who did the Bills add? Does Callum want? Does Callum want? I'm trying to see because I know
Yeah, I'm on their page. I'm looking here right now, but
you got.
in the meantime, well, there's also happy birthday wishes from John Wambacher and from Mr. Bill
Oh,
Cava himself. Both are in the chat to say
oh,
happy
that's
birthday as well.
awesome. Look at all the boys are here. You guys are awesome. John, you're wonderful. Your family's wonderful. Your wife sent well wishes to me. Wait, Bill Cava?
Yep,
Where is he?
Bill
Is he
Cava.
back in America? I don't know. Is he in like Norway or something? Is this an international check-in?
It must be. And he hasn't. We'll have to see if he responds to see where he
Okay,
is. We were up to 6 viewers there for a few minutes. So
that's awesome. And then I started talking and it went back down. You know what? It's so amazing that Bill Kava has been on this Scandinavian journey. And at the
I
same
know.
time, I'm watching one of my favorite docu-series in my entire life. I've been watching it since 2004. Before I met my wife, I was working at World of Video and I happened upon a it was a DVD with Ewan McGregor and Charlie Borman, who I immediately recognized because his dad, the great director.
Well, here we go. Bill is checking in from Iceland.
Nice! Bill, you are awesome, man. Gosh, that I wish I had the capability to travel. I'm such a bad traveler that you're my hero, Bill. I hope you're having
He
an
also says
amazing
land of
time.
the red-haired Vikings. So
Yeah. That's where my hair comes from, people. It don't come Irish people do not get their red hair from the Scottish or the Irish. We get it from the Vikings that took over those countries and made sex with the ladies. And this is what you get. That's why my son's named Lachlan, the land of the locks. They came.
yes.
There you go, baby. But anyway, I'm watching Long Way Home, which is
Oh
what
yeah.
they did: long way up, long way down, long way round, now long way home, where they leave from Ewan McGregor's house. No, yeah, they leave from Ewan McGregor's house. They drive all the way through Europe, and then they come back to Charlie Borman's house.
Yeah. It's one of those shows I know I'm gonna love, and I just have never actually watched it. It's on my list to do. I just have never gotten around to it.
Andy, if you
I
were
know I'm gonna
me,
love it.
yeah, you would have the song in your head, the long way. But it's such a beautiful song, and
Uh-huh.
they really have been doing this now for over 20 years, and I think there'll be at least two more of them.
Yeah, they'll keep doing them as long as they can. I mean,
Yeah,
what is Ewan? Is Ewan 60? 55 maybe? Maybe he may be
he's
60
just a
by
little
now.
bit older than us, than me.
Yeah,
I know. I think
that's
he's like 53, 54. There's a black cat walking through my backyard.
well, that's not a good sign. Oh, you're right.
Ac-
54. Ewan is
Okay,
54,
yeah.
so.
Actually, I used to have black cats. I think they're good.
And Bill also says love you guys, and that we will say love you too, Bill.
We love you, Bill. Have a great trip. And it won't be too long before we're talking about what television show your daughter's on and trying to get an interview with her because she's amazing, so talented.
Yes.
Every time you post something and she has no fear, just like her dad,
Yep.
right? To just go out there into the world, discover it, talk to people, learn, open
Yeah.
to everything. Bill Cava is the man. My son still talks about it. He's like, "How's Bill Cava?" He still said he remembers when he
He's
came
the most
visiting.
interesting man in the world. That there's a reason why.
He is a silver fox, my friends. And he's done his share of podcasting too. I know what's called Clock Shelves Media, which I always try to share, and I like those guys. I've listened to him as well.
Hmm.
We gotta get Bill back on a pod. He hasn't been on a pod with us in a while.
It's been a
Bill,
while, yeah.
yeah, tell us what you want to talk about. When you whatever you want to talk about, Bill, you tell us. If there's a show, if there's anything, or we'll just have you on. We'll just chat with you. We'll get us all on together
Yeah.
and do that. That'd be fun. Um, Back to football.
Yes. Okay. So the Bills, I've kind of been looking through their transactions. I mean, they released Von Miller. That was a kind of a
Yeah.
bigger move. They haven't really signed a whole lot. They signed Shaq Thompson yesterday. Otherwise, they have not really made a lot besides re-signing a lot of their own guys. I mean, unless I'm missing something, signed Elijah Moore. I mean, a lot of more moves like that that aren't
Oh,
really.
they did?
Yes, that was on May
Interesting.
5th.
That's
But there's not a
interesting.
ton of not a ton of huge names, unless I'm missing something here, but I don't think I am.
Yeah. And I'm looking at their draft too: cornerback, defensive, tight end, cornerback, tackle, wide receiver.
Yeah.
And knowing the Bills, this guy Caden Prather, I think is his name, will probably end up being like a starter or something like that.
Hmm.
I, I, my hope for this cat is now staring at me. What's up, cat? How you doing? I'm on a podcast. Do you want to come? Now coming right to the window. This is kind of interesting. We're having like a little animal time with Axel. What am I, Snow White or something? I wake up on my birthday and all the animals start fucking gathering around me.
I
This is
Pied
creepy.
Piper,
Stop.
maybe the Pied Piper.
Dude, this is getting creepy. This cat will not stop staring at me. Okay, now he's going away. Yeah, go away. That
You need to
creeps me
open the
out.
window to throw some rocks at it or something so we can get back to podcasting. What the hell?
The funny thing is, if my huge fucking dog went into the backyard and saw that cat, she would probably get scared and come back inside.
Yeah, run. Usually, the bigger the dog is, the more of a chicken it is. So,
She's such a cutie. Oh my Ruby, she's the best. But my dream for this season is for I would just like to see the Buffalo Bills beat the Chiefs in the playoffs.
yeah,
It doesn't have to be the AFC Championship because I'd like to see them ascend. I love the Bills. I think at this point in time they're my second favorite team, even though they're in my division. I've talked about this with Kellerman on our show. Is there a team in your division that you just can't hate? Like I could just never hate the Bills. I love Jim Kelly. I cheered for them in every Super Bowl I wanted them to win.
I mean, I can't really hate the Lions. I mean, I know there's kind of a rivalry now with the Lions and the
Yeah,
Vikings, so we'll see how that goes. But I really can't hate them. I mean, they've had misery
right.
beyond
See,
belief. So,
that's why
I
I
mean, and
can't eat. Yeah,
I think with the Bills too, the thing about them that's gonna could be a big changer is like their young wide receivers are gonna have another year of experience now
yeah,
with Shakir and Coleman, those young guys. So that might those guys could if those guys develop a little bit more, they could be even more. And James Cook is still in his prime, and Allen is still Allen. So
right.
I got a good feeling about them this year.
What's up with Cook? There was some kind of news. Was he not practicing? Was he holding out again or something?
Yeah,
Or
I think there was some contract deal with him. I
okay,
don't
they'll
know if
get
it
that
says anything
resolved.
here, but
They're not usually a team they're not like the Jets who stupidly let people hold out and make a big thing
yeah,
out of it.
or the Bengals or
Oh
because they're
God.
pretty good at doing that too.
Is there any it must be so frustrating to be a Bengals fan. So frustrating because that is the I think that is the worst, maybe one of the worst run organizations in the NFL. And yet
It's got to be.
they've been good at times.
Well, that just shows you how I mean you hit the jackpot with one or two skill position players. It carries you a long ways. I
Yep.
mean with I mean Burrow and Chase. I mean they can and what's it and Higgins. They can win a lot of games just with those three guys.
Yeah.
But in order to get over the hump, it's hard to. Yeah, I don't know. It'd be tough to be a Bengals fan. I don't know if I could. I could do. I actually do like the Bengals. I've always liked that
Yeah.
team,
Me
but
too. I loved Boomer. When Boomer came to the Jets, I was so happy. I've rooted for I'm just an AFC guy. I always have been. There's just a couple teams in the NFC that I've liked over the years. I did root for the 49ers at certain times, depending. I was rooting
Mhm.
for the Bengals in the Super Bowl. They lost to the 49ers.
Yeah.
But I've rooted for the Packers in the past because, like I said, I was an Aaron Rodgers fan. Fucking, he
He
gave me
was
some of the greatest games that I've watched, you know?
in his prime. He was awesome
Oh,
in his prime. There's no even I can't. As much as I dislike the guy, I can't deny he was awesome when he was in his prime. The one of the stories that I thought was kind of interesting that haven't hasn't really it's kind of been out a little bit is the Jim Irsay thing, and his daughters are now taking over the team. Have you read any of this stuff? It's very
yeah.
interesting. One
Yeah.
of the daughters is getting a lot of flack because like in the last couple of years she sat on the sidelines with headphones listening to the coaches and what they're doing. I actually
Yeah.
think that's a cool idea. I wish more owners would. If I was investing that kind of money, I would want to know I wouldn't be on the mic yelling at people, but I would love to
Well,
be listening to what's going on.
I mean, God forbid a woman should want to listen to the plays or do it's, it's not, I mean, I don't think it's only because of that. I think it's also typically
Well,
people are always cautious whenever ownership gets involved in the game.
uh-huh.
But then again, there's certain instances, Al Davis, whatever, where people fucking love it for a certain amount of time, right? Or they're
Hmm.
like, oh, they show interest in it.
Yep.
Um, when I read that, and I saw that there were three daughters, and one daughter is going to be the head of it, where the
Hmm.
other two have a say on voting things, like
Yeah. They're not
whatever
really
they
the managing partner or
no,
whatever you want to
they're
call it.
not
Yeah.
working day to day. Their jobs are not working with the organization day to day, right?
Yeah.
They're just, I think, for the board purposes, co-CEOs, like,
Yeah.
because you know what they're going to do? They're going to do what every NFL team is doing. They're now allowed to sell up to 10% of their team to equity
Hmm.
firms, right? So they're going to sell. That's probably why they're on the board. So they can all make $15 bazillion. So some
Uh-huh.
guy can bring his friends and say, "I own 1% of the team,"
Yeah.
which probably makes a lot of money anyway. But I liked it.
Uh,
I thought
yeah.
that was, if I was a Colts fan, I would be excited about this, thinking
Hmm.
that this is because I know Ursay had he, like we talked a little bit, he was into the guitars and music and he had a cool side of him. But
Hmm.
was he, who thought he was like a great NFL owner or something? Are the Colts are they an example of a great organization? I don't
Not
think
really.
so.
I mean, I know that most of his former players love him. I mean, like if you hear Pat McAfee talk about him and some of the guys that were around that time, they think he was the greatest guy in the world,
Yeah.
and Peyton Manning, all those guys love him. So I don't know, but yeah, it's not like he just has been outmaneuvering teams and making amazing moves. So
No. And I don't know if they know this, but it's been quite a long time since Peyton Manning has retired from the
yeah,
NFL, and the Colts have not been a good team.
yeah.
They kind of sucked ass and wasted like Jonathan Taylor and other, right? Like they're not, I don't, so to me, you
Well,
might,
you know that they were close there for a while, and then Andrew Luck retired. And then
well, I
that
forgot it. Yeah, of
changed
course.
so I think something may have happened in there when he retired, and I think I'm sure, I mean, it's had to have set the team back years, because I mean when you think you can build around a
Yeah.
guy like that and then all of a sudden he's gone, that's
I should have said it's been quite a while since both him and Andrew Luck,
yeah.
the great, oh God, Andrew Luck. Let's all bow our heads in silence now. And I want to dedicate my birthday wishes to somehow traveling back in time and the Jets chose Andrew Luck. And now we have like somehow got that pick because he was number one. But
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I hope that would have been, I loved him so much. And while he was a quarterback, I was always rooting for him. He's so fucking smart and cool. And I love the way he played. And I also, the day he retired, my respect for him skyrocketed because that was he's so smart. He got to play, he had a great career, he did,
That's
you know.
it's crazy that was 6 years ago. He retired in 2019, August of 2019. I would not have guessed it was that long ago, but
How many years did he play? 6 or 7?
uh something like that. Let's see. Well, he
Huh.
was voted to 4 Pro Bowls, so he had to have played, and he missed at least one year with injury. Yeah, he's still only 35 years old.
Good. What a smart dude.
One,
That's,
two, three, four, five. Yeah, he was in the league for 8 years, or one, two, three, four, for 7 years, but one year he was injured and
yeah,
didn't play.
there we go. This
And
is,
the last year he
yeah.
played, he won the comeback player of the year in 2018 and made the Pro Bowl. So,
I don't know. You know me, Andy. I am not a fan of these people who never retire. Like
mhm.
Tom Brady, LeBron, all these
Unless his name
people.
is Aaron Rodgers, then you're a fan.
Fuck him. He's on my shit list again. You convinced me.
Well,
Um,
that's Robert Smith for the Vikings did the very similar thing. He like led the league in rushing the year before he retired, or the 2 years before he retired before he could concuss himself out of the league. And I can't hate guys that do that.
yeah.
It's why not? You made enough money.
I'm just in favor of that in life. Like
Mhm.
I look at some like for instance, we've never talked about Taylor Swift on our podcast before, Andy, but I'm gonna mention Taylor Swift for the
Danger,
first time ever.
danger.
Jenny's gonna love this part of the podcast. I look at
Pretty sure
some of
she
my
tuned out when we started talking NFL. So,
but I don't get it. Like, first of all, none of my heroes were billionaires when they were like artists, you know? And it doesn't necessarily mean you're bad because you're commercially successful. I'm not, yeah, I know I'm punk rock, I'm from the 90s, okay? But I can understand that sometimes in this world, the two things meet, you know?
mhm.
But it's like, You're a billionaire. You could now do nothing for the rest of your life. And not only you, but almost everyone you know and your family could also do that, and all of their generations. You're set for generations. And you're still like writing songs about your bad ex-boyfriend who didn't pay enough attention to you. And this is supposed to make me think that you're like, this is a good thing. Like, what are you doing? Like, why? Within these people, just like it's time to transition to something different, right? Like, your life is, it's my birthday today. I've lived many lives in my life. And I think that's how a life should be lived. You got to move
I
on
mean,
sometimes.
think about it this way though, with her is like, say we were offered a $1 billion contract to podcast for 2 years. Would you just podcast for 2 years and then just stop and retire and be like, I'm done because I've got enough money?
Yeah, I would, Andy. I would just do it with you
Okay.
and guys when I wanted
Well,
to. I would just
yeah,
do it when I
but
wanted to with you guys. I wouldn't, I would, I would probably still do. You know what? No, I wouldn't. I would put a lot of money into the podcast, our network. I would
yeah.
bring as many people in as I could to make it good and robust and strong. I would still probably podcast all the time, but I don't think I'd go on tour. You know what
Oh,
I
that
mean?
I
I
mean,
don't
that's
think
different. And maybe she just loves doing it. And the other thing with it is like the billionaire entertainer is really kind of a new phenomenon in the last
it
9 or 10 years. It's
Yeah,
not
it
like with the
is.
way media works now, like her, Jay-Z, there's a couple of those people that
Yep.
are to that level, but it's kind of a new
Arnold
thing. Like,
Schwarzenegger is a billionaire. Ryan
yeah.
Reynolds is a billionaire. I
And
was looking at a list of celebrity billionaire. That's a great point, Andy. It is.
because now, well, like Ryan Reynolds or The Rock, guys like that are buying, or George
Yep.
Clooney, they're
Yep.
buying like alcohol and selling high. I mean, they're able to market themselves in a way that was never possible.
Yeah.
I mean, besides a few people like Michael Jackson or the Beatles or somebody, most of those people, entertainers, never got to that level until probably the last 20 years, is my guess. I
Yeah.
don't know for sure, but I think it's
Yeah.
so it's hard to, and I think the other thing I think about is people when they get to that level, it's usually because they've been working their ass off. I imagine it's hard to shut that off.
I have been talking about this with my son, and as an artist, I can understand obsession, right? Like
Hmm.
I obsess and build Lego creations that a lot of times I don't even show people. I don't even put pictures online. Maybe I'll
Yep.
take them to this thing, but I do it for me. But when you get to a certain level, the responsibility you have as an artist to the world or something, that's just something to consider. Not everyone has to have that responsibility. Musicians in general always perplex me because I could never be a musician. When I was in college, we tried to put a band together with me as the singer because I can't really, I can kind of sing. You've heard me sing, but I have a good voice.
Hmm.
So we were going to try to do like more like a Doors thing, right?
Yep.
When the music's over, turn out the light. I was going to try to do it, man. I was trying to get drunk and stoned and just do like a Jim Morrison type
Uh-huh.
shit. It was the 90s, bro. Come on.
Hmm.
Maybe throw in some poetry or something like that.
Might as
Uh,
well.
and I wanted to do Broadway type shit with it.
Yep.
Maybe could have got the guys to do it because I think my voice is I can sing. If you ever heard me sing Broadway type, I can do it like really loud, you know?
Well, the next time we go out there, I expect you to sing the whole songbook of Guys and Dolls when we get out there the next
Oh
time. So
boy. I can do it, man. I mean, I was in a couple plays. Um,
nice.
but anyway, I was not that into it. You know what I mean? And one of the reasons
Hmm.
why I was not that into it, Andy, is because the idea of doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over, like going on a tour for a year and playing the same fucking song 300 times is mind-numbingly boring to me. Like I don't know.
And I'm guessing part of it too is I know it's not exactly the same thing, but I've heard interviews with guys like The Rock or Ric Flair, like some of these guys that have wrestled for years and years and
Yeah,
years and beat the shit out of their bodies. And like The Rock is a perfect example. He doesn't need to do anything. He's got so much money.
yeah,
But he like those guys have always said because I was like, why do you keep coming back to wrestling? And they're like, because the thrill and the adrenaline rush when you walk out in
Yeah.
front of that crowd, he's like, you can't
Yeah.
duplicate it. So maybe
That's
that's part of it for the
it
performers
is.
that do that.
You're a great point, Andy. It is. It totally is. It's a performance. That's why
Hmm.
musicians and for some actors, it's interesting too because some of them, you see these famous actors and you wonder, hey, where have they been? And then you're like, oh shit, they're on Broadway. Like
Yeah.
Denzel Washington is doing Broadway right now. That's the
Hmm.
new thing on Broadway is all the famous
Yeah.
act, and I think that's amazing for American film because that
Hmm.
means they're honing their craft and hopefully that is filtering. I'm not a
Yeah.
believer in trickle down economics, but for art it sometimes works. That the lower level actors in America will start thinking to themselves, hey, maybe instead of doing a TikTok video, I should
Yeah.
go to my local community theater and actually learn how to act.
Learn how to do
Because,
it. Yeah.
yeah, because going like this is not acting. That
Or
is
yeah, doing some
perform.
dance where you shake your ass
Yeah,
for 10
that's
seconds.
not
Yeah.
act. Yeah, that's not
Yeah.
good, right? Like to actually learn the craft of it.
Yep.
But I understand the obsession. I just have always had, because, I shot so much music. I love music. And I've
Hmm.
always said that to musician friends of mine. Like, this seems so fucking boring, dude. Like, does PTA make the same movie over and over again and then take it on tour and make the same fucking movie over and over again in front of people? That's so boring. Like, you're
Yep.
playing this same song. Like, even I watched the Led Zeppelin doc.
Hmm.
Did you get a chance to watch any of it?
I got about two-thirds of the way through. I have not. I have like the last half an hour haven't gotten to
Okay.
yet. So,
What's your overall feeling, impression on the band Led Zeppelin in this documentary while I fix my hair?
the band itself, it's a band that I probably respect more than I like. I mean, oh, that does look good. And I don't,
There you go.
they're a band that I respect more than I like for the most part. I was never
Okay.
huge into Zeppelin. Like I can when I listen to him, like I get the appeal and I get the skill, but it was never something I'm like, holy shit. I wasn't one of those guys. I've got friends that were, but I was never one of those guys that could just sit there and listen to the album front to back in one
Yeah.
sitting, like the way they designed it to do. I mean,
Yeah.
they didn't really like doing the singles thing. And I knew they were amazing musicians. So it like in that case, like at least in the first I love the first half of the doc I really liked. Like when they're becoming the band basically and the
Yeah.
what was
Yep.
going on and so their background. Oh, I did not know most of that stuff. So I loved a lot of that stuff. And then once it got more in, I got into the part where it's a lot more of the performances and stuff. And I'm like, okay, it felt a little more like behind the music or one of those kind of things when it got to that
Yeah.
point. But like some of the stuff, like when they're playing with the sessions, I didn't know those guys played on Goldfinger and played with Donovan and all these other. And like when
Yeah,
I hear
man.
the songs, I'm like, of course they, especially the Donovan. I can't think what the name of the song is, but I'm like, of course, this sounds a lot like Led
Yeah.
Zeppelin, so it's not really surprising. But
Oh, right. It's that song. It's like incense and peppermint.
yeah, it
Ba-da-da-da.
was yeah, and I'm like the actual music part
Something
of
like
it, because
that.
for
Yeah.
part of it, I was just listening to it. I wasn't watching all of it, and just listening to it. It was so I really loved the first, like I said, two-third or half of it or so, and then once I got more into the concert stuff with the songs I already knew, and I'm like, this is cool footage, but it wasn't something that was
Yeah.
blowing me away, if that makes sense.
Are you a blues guy? Are you into
Yeah,
the blues?
I really like the blues, but I'm not someone who has enveloped myself in it,
Right.
if that makes sense.
I think it's an important distinction, and I think
Hmm.
that a lot of people don't quite understand the categorization of the 60s psychedelic bands.
Hmm.
And like for instance, like Jimi Hendrix is basically just a blues artist.
Hmm.
Like Howlin' Wolf, Jimi Hendrix, it's really just electric. And
Yep.
it's the same thing with Led Zeppelin. They come from the Yardbirds.
Yep.
And what they show in the beginning is like Lightning Slim, all these guys who what happened was the English, I mean, this is the same thing that a French did for jazz. Americans aren't always good at understanding the good things we make. We tend to like really like the things like McDonald's. And then it's like we have the greatest music, jazz and blues. And most Americans only liked big band or some variation of the blues that was acceptable to them, right?
Mhm.
That fell within some parameters. But the English loved the blues and they brought all those guys to England and also paid for them in America. It's the same thing like Coltrane, Monk, they all had patrons from
Yeah.
German, France, English, like people from other countries who loved them.
Hmm.
So that is a thing. If you're not, I think a lot of people think Led Zeppelin is heavy metal, right?
Well,
To
and I
me,
mean it does it sounds a little bit like it, so I get why because a lot of the people I knew that loved it growing up were people that also were listening to Megadeth and Metallica and all these
yes.
heavier metal
Well,
bands.
they
So
have a career. This is
yeah,
only becoming Led Zeppelin,
yeah,
right? This documentary, which is currently on Netflix and everyone should watch, is two little over 2 hours, and it really only encompasses the first two albums.
yeah. There was one point where I was actually kind of laughing because one of them was talking about how one of their huge influences was Little Richard, which I knew that was some of that music was. And I'm thinking back to some of the people I knew in high school that were just hardcore metalheads and into Led Zeppelin. If they knew that Little Richard was a major influence on Led Zeppelin, their heads would have exploded. So I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's funny because they should have known that
Yeah,
and they didn't for the reasons I was talking about, right?
that's
Like they don't
exactly right.
the
Yep.
acceptability of it. But to me, I mean Led Zeppelin changes a lot, right? I mean they're doing fucking Jamaica, right? Like they took their influences from everywhere
Yeah.
because basically at the heart of Led Zeppelin is John Paul Jones and Jimmy Page who are like maestro musicians. They were trained since they were fucking kids. They were playing
Yeah.
sessions when they were like 15. You know what I'm
You
saying?
know,
It's like
one of them, I can't
amazing.
remember which one it was that was talking about it. I thought it was fascinating too, how he was like, he credits a lot of his training to playing at the church and being like,
Yeah.
church, you have to improvise all the time. And it really
That
made
was
me a
John
great
Paul
musician.
Jones. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was
And
like,
as
wow,
soon
that
as
is,
I hear the organ,
yeah.
lying,
Yeah.
stealing,
So I thought,
right?
like I said, the first with doing all that stuff, I was really this is really a cool doc. I loved all that stuff, the
Yeah.
like the forming stuff and where their influences come from because I enjoyed it. Actually, in a lot of ways, reminded me of the yacht rock doc in that kind of way where they talked about how their influences were coming from strange places. So, or not
This
strange
is,
places, but places not everyone thinks about.
yeah, this is where I kind of, man, I loved this documentary. But since it ends where it ends, and they really only have the two albums that they're really getting into, they do, let's just say they play some songs too many times. It's a
Mm.
great documentary, but I'm okay with hearing Dazed and Confused once or twice.
Yep.
I'm okay with Babe, I'm gonna leave you. I can't quit you. Like, oh, when you look, you shook me. They play like four times within an
Hmm.
hour, and it's oh, you don't. It's too repetitive. And Led Zeppelin was too good to have done that. And if I could talk to the directors, I'd ask them, why did you do this? Like, you know, you shook me. It's an amazing song. Oh, 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 like all that shit. But it's
Yes.
like Robert Plant and Led Zeppelin you can overdo less because his voice is
Yeah.
piercing and it's
Yep.
powerful and it can be too much
Well, yeah,
sometimes.
I know one of the clips where they're showing one of their first concerts and you see little kids in the crowd going like this while he's singing and
Yeah, that
it's
would be me
there is
too,
some
man.
cool archive footage in there for
It's
sure.
great. It's great to watch. I love it, but it really does have to do with becoming Led Zeppelin. It's their first two albums. It's very bluesy. It's a bit
Hmm.
repetitive, but anytime you can watch the, to me, John Bonham is the second. Well, let's see. I mean, you have like the Mount Rushmore of rock drummers, okay? And I would guess that those are, for me, Stuart Copeland from The Police,
Hmm.
John Bonham from Led Zeppelin, Ginger Baker, Cream,
Hmm.
and what's his name from Rush, who
Oh,
who died? Neil Peart.
yeah,
Neil
yep.
Peart from Rush. So those are for me the four. Now, some people may add Radiohead's drummer to that in more recent times. And the reason why people started saying that because after they went electronic, he can play that live.
Yeah.
So he can mimic. the electronic beats so fast that he
Yeah.
can do it live. But for me, Radiohead has like been doing the same thing for 20 years now. They're a little boring to me, but I
Well,
know Aaron loves them.
I'm not a Radiohead
I
guy
was a
either.
huge Radiohead fan, but I don't feel like they've grown at all. Like they went into electric music and now it's still I like I don't I maybe they haven't and I don't know it, but that's just me. But that's the four for me of the best
I don't
drummers.
even know who I would even put on that list. I don't I have to think I'd have to think about that for a while. I don't know. That's a tough one for me.
My favorite is Ginger Baker though, because I'm a
Hmm.
jazz guy and Ginger Baker to me had a smoothness and a swing and a timing that John Bonham was strength. Well, of course, how can I forget Dave Grohl? If you played, I could recognize Dave Grohl drumming because Dave Grohl is the heir apparent to John Bonham. That's what
Yeah.
Dave Grohl is. He hits the
Yes, for
drum so
sure.
fucking hard,
Yeah.
and John Bonham was amazing. But anyway, I love Led Zeppelin. My history with Led Zeppelin is they're they are so awesome and so inspirational and foundational to music
Yeah. You
that
know, the other thing that's nice about this too is that most of the band is alive, so they can
yeah,
talk to most of the
isn't that
band.
crazy?
So that's one thing where I wish some of these other bands would do something like this while the guys are still alive and they can still make these kind of docs
Yeah.
because a lot of that knowledge is going to be lost
And
in the near future.
I like the way too there was no reason for them to I don't need to know so deep personal life shit about. I like to know some stories. And Robert Plant, they were honest. He was like, "Yeah, I was married, but there were women everywhere." But they don't get into it like,
Yeah.
and they do get into how, he was like a sex object to a lot of
Mhm.
women, and it was something for him that affected him. People don't
Yeah.
think about that, right? Because these were very artistic, creative, emotional guys who were trying to make art. And when you think of, like, when I think of heavy metal, to me, the first heavy metal band is not Led Zeppelin, it's Black Sabbath. Black Sabbath is heavy metal. Led
I would,
Zeppelin
yeah.
is psychedelic blues that later they just took from influences from everywhere. They do have, I mean, Stairway to Heaven is a heavy metal kind of song, and a lot of heavy metal aspects they have in them, but they're greater than that.
Well,
Whereas I think
they're hard
Black
to call.
Sabbath is heavy metal.
Yeah, I mean, Zeppelin's hard to categorize because it's, like I said, there's so many influences
Yes,
from different places,
it's
and
too
they play
much.
so many different kinds and types of music
Yep,
within their
I loved
same
it.
thing. So,
Oh man. But Gollum,
oh,
the
yeah.
evil one. It's my pipe, baby. So,
What a pipe it is.
the Led Zeppelin doc, watch it. Awesome. I hope it would be fantastic if they did like two more docs, like they
Got to
did
continue
Led
it. I didn't realize
Zeppelin.
it was just the very beginning of that.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's because it's called Becoming
yeah. Oh, that
Led
makes sense.
Zeppelin,
Yeah.
right? And I didn't want to read too many reviews or look at trail, but I knew that it was because they haven't allowed something like they've never done anything like this
Well,
before.
and like for a long time, they wouldn't license any songs to movies or TV. Or they have now, but there was a
Yeah.
long, long time. It
Well,
was like there was with Prince, where they just wouldn't
yeah.
license their stuff to anybody.
Because Andy, speaking of billionaire artists, you remember that there was a whole movement of punk and rock and roll where selling your song was considered to be
Yeah, selling
selling
out or
out and
yep,
bullshit. And this comes from, of course, because the basic formation of rock and roll was music companies and corporations taking advantage of artists, and then you end up with like like he's in a
yeah.
movie, and you become a marketed product instead of an artist.
Hmm.
I remember Neil Young famously had "This Song's for You," right? With "I ain't
Yep.
singing for Pepsi, I ain't singing for
That's
Coke."
that's not a bad Neil Young there. I don't think
Yeah,
I've heard your Neil
I
Young
love Neil
before.
Young. I love Neil Young, man. After the gold rush, I was living in a burned out basement. I could do better. Ah, Neil Young is the best. I love Neil Young. What a weirdo, dude.
Yeah,
So strange.
for
So
sure.
much such an individual.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I was overall. I hope they do a like one that could be called like Led Zeppelin Rock Gods would be the next one. And then
Uh,
like Led Zeppelin John Bonham died and it was over. I don't know, maybe
yeah.
that's what they could call it. But because it would be I would have loved more studio stuff. I'm a fan of the documentaries like they did in the Yacht Rock documentary, which is still one of my favorite rock documentaries in the past decade, where they sit at the board
Hmm.
and they bring up. I would have loved to see Jimmy Page sit at a board and show us the overdubs, what Plant's voice sounds like, and everything. Because when I first really started getting into music was when I worked at CD World when I was about 17 years old.
Yep.
And I started really learning about all different kinds of music. And then I went to college, and my friend Beerbel, who is an amazing procure or just recognizer of music, like he knows
Oh,
everything and he
yep.
listens to everything. And he's actually, at one point in time, maybe he doesn't want me to say this, but he was actually paid by people to buy records for them. And one of those people was Moby. Moby hired
Oh,
him through his
wow.
cousin, Alop,
Uh-huh.
who was in a band called Dialect, who's still around. Will is doing Dialect. They did the soundtrack to Smokers, the score, I should say,
Yeah.
to
Yep.
Smokers. And Beerwell was hired to go into record stores in
Let's go
Manhattan
find music.
and
Yeah.
find awesome beats for Moby and other people too. And Alop would get this job too. He made money off doing this. People respected
Oh,
his
that's pretty
music so
cool.
well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like being a music supervisor, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Actually, I think we put Beerbel as the music supervisor for Smokers. Mike kind of fought me on stuff like that, and I never understood it. I wanted to put all our friends in the credits and give them, and Mike was like,
Ah.
"They, no, you got to do it proper." And I was like, "No," like I had to fight him to give my friend Lou a writing credit on Smokers, but he did. He sat there with us and came up with the ideas. You got
Hmm.
it's just credit. Who gives a fuck? That's why in all
Yeah.
the podcasts I never put my name first.
Hmm.
I can't do that. I can't put
Yeah.
Axel and I always put Andy and Axel or because I just you were doing everything's a team, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like give people credit. Who cares? Anyway,
Yeah.
long
No
story
kidding.
short, I'm rambling on. I'm trying to talk so you can relax, Ando.
Yes. No, I'm
Um,
just I don't this is a good this is if there was ever time for you to ramble, it's on your birthday pod.
Ramble. Uh, anyway, Beerbel taught me this, and he said, because we were talking about movies, and I was saying to him a trick that I learned from watching like special features and stuff and reading
Hmm.
about
Hmm.
filmmakers was the best way you can learn how to edit and pacing is to watch a film with the sound off. It teaches you
Oh, yep.
so much
Hmm.
about, and also camera angles, right?
Yep.
Sequence of shots. Why
Yeah,
does a
because you're not distracted by the sound. Yeah, well, you have to
Yeah,
watch it. Yeah.
right. And why does an editor, why sometimes will a scene start with a wide shot to a mid shot to a close up? Other scenes start in a mid shot, go to a back to a wide. Like why do these angles matter? What do they emotionally convey? And then Beerbel was saying for music, what you should do is you should close your eyes and you should try in your mind to pick out each instrument, to isolate in your mind each sound, each instrument, each overdub, each voice. Listen to the same song over and over and over again and just listen, like listen to a Zeppelin
Whoa.
song, but don't listen to the
Yeah.
lyric, main voice. Listen to the dub where you can hear him in the background going, yeah, yeah, yeah. And you
Uh-huh.
realize, holy shit, what actually
Oh,
builds this song?
yeah.
And when I started doing that for some of the
Oh.
songs that I really appreciated and loved, and I started doing it with jazz, it's a bit easier with
Hmm.
jazz. There's only one person playing a bass. A lot of it's
Yeah.
live. They don't
Uh-huh.
do a lot of jazz. A lot of the jazz that I listen to, classic jazz, doesn't have a lot of overdubs.
No.
They went to they went into the studio and they said, "Take one." Do 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 do
Hmm.
do 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 do.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
it. That was the take,
Yep.
motherfucker.
Yep.
Um, But that, so anyone listening, try to do that. Like, and if you do that with a Zeppelin song, you will go
But yeah, I
nuts.
can just imagine it in my
Yeah,
head because it's like I said, there's so much sound and
so
so many
much.
different things on top of things that
Yeah, one of the all-time best secrets that I can impart to anyone doing this from one of my favorite bands of all time, Nirvana, is if you listen to In Utero and just listen to Dave Grohl singing, because Dave Grohl is on every track of In Utero singing. And they mixed, he is overdubbed through with Kurt Cobain, is Dave Grohl, because Kurt Cobain was trying to get Dave Grohl. Kurt Cobain wanted Nirvana to be the Beatles because he was obsessed with the Beatles, and he
yeah.
wanted him and Dave Grohl to be John and Paul. And he
I don't
was
think I
always
ever
encouraging Dave
if
Grohl
I
to
heard that
sing.
I've
Yeah,
forgotten about that. I
yeah,
didn't realize
yeah.
that.
He
Yeah.
was always encouraging Dave Grohl to sing, and Dave Grohl was embarrassed about it. He didn't want, he didn't, and of course, I mean, for Christ's
Well,
sake,
he got over that fear, so
but only after Kurt died.
yeah.
And I read an interview with him that said, if you listen to In Utero, you'll hear Kurt forced me to sing on almost every song with him because he wanted me to learn how to sing better and he wanted me to write songs for the band, which he did.
Hmm.
What is it? What's the Marigold is
Oh,
the
yep.
first song that Dave Grohl wrote and performed for Nirvana. And if you listen to that song, it sounds like Foo Fighters.
I'll have to listen to that. And I'll have to listen to In Utero again. It's been a long
Yeah,
time since I listened to that
you'll hear
album.
it. You can close your eyes and you'll all of a sudden you once you hear it, it'll be a little hard not to hear it
Well, and it's
afterwards.
easy. It's a lot easier now because we all know what Dave Grohl sounds like now. I mean, I'm sure it's way easier to
Yeah.
pick out than it would have been back in the 90s.
But that's kind of nuts because it's like imagine if that had happened. That would have been pretty cool if
Yeah.
Kurt Cobain had lived and then Dave Grohl had said, "Go make your solo," and then he did the Foo Fighters, which was the Dave Grohl solo album, which it was
Hmm.
because he played every instrument on it.
Hmm.
And then the first Foo Fighters record, if people don't know, he did the entire thing as Dave Grohl. And then they came back together. That would have been awesome. And then you have, because at the time Kurt Cobain died, there were four members of the band. Pat Smear was the
Oh,
other
yeah.
member of the band.
Yep.
So, and he had been actually, Nirvana existed with Pat Smear as a member for longer than it did him not as a member.
Without. Yep.
And a lot of people forget he was a member of the band. But
Well, then he played with them at the SNL thing, didn't he?
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
yeah, that's what I thought so. Yeah.
he was awesome. Um,
Hmm.
wow, Nirvana, baby. Yeah, that would have been amazing. Well, also, Kurt was supposed to make an album with Michael Stipe. They were working on making
Oh.
an album together. They were very good friends. And it
Oh.
is sometimes Courtney Love has alluded to the fact that they may have been lovers. If they were, I'm not sure,
Oh.
but it wouldn't have
Now that you say
surprised
that,
me.
yeah, I've heard that. Well, and Courtney Love likes to say lots of things too, so who knows?
Don't get me started on her. Everybody
Yeah,
has their
well,
Courtney Love.
that's one of my old roommates was a Nirvana super fan. So it's been a while since I've been plugged into the Nirvana. So I used to know everything about Nirvana just through my buddy Josh, but
Here we
been a
go,
while, so
baby.
it's been a while since I've
Live on YouTube.
nice.
My Nirvana tattoo. My other tattoo?
I didn't think I knew you had a Nirvana tattoo.
You ever see my other tattoo?
No.
You don't recognize it? Here, I'll
I
get
got to
closer.
make
Here,
my
live
screen
on
bigger.
YouTube. Watch the crotch shot. You recognize this?
It looks like a tower of some kind.
It's
Something the tower.
it's a replica of the burned tarot card from the Gunslinger.
Oh, damn. That's nice.
Yeah,
My screen is a little bit pixelated, so I can't
that's what that
tell
is.
quite. Well, that's awesome.
Yep.
That's
Traced
super
it out of
awesome.
my arm. It's from the book.
Yeah.
Well, my plan was to get more done around it because it's a strange shape. Like the guy said that to me.
Yeah.
He's like, that's a weird shape. So, well, I'm going to get roses and the
I was gonna
tower
say
and the
some
guy.
roses
Yeah.
on there for sure. Yeah.
And I was going to get the guns,
Yeah.
Roland's guns on either
Uh-huh.
side of it, behind it. right?
Oh,
I had a whole thing going on for it, but I'm done with
that'll
tattoos, dude.
that'll be well, you know what? That'll be when Mike Flanagan finally gets that adaptation going, and then we're podcasting about the Dark Tower every week. Then you
Maybe.
can get it touched up.
Well, for me, The Dark Tower, the original book, is
The
the
Gunslinger.
yeah, the Gunslinger is the shit. I love that book. When I read that book on I read that entire book in Long Beach Island at the Jersey Shore one summer. What year did the Gunslinger come out?
I want to say it was.
83?
I
What
think
year
it
did
was either I want to, or maybe even before that. It was early '80s. I know.
I thought it was 83.
I'll
Novel by
I'll look it up.
Stephen King. I'm
Yep,
looking it up right now. It was 82. June 10th,
82.
1982, the day before my birthday. What came out. I read that book. I was too young to read that book. I read it in
I was gonna
85.
say that's.
I read it in 85 when I was 11. Yep,
I
I
didn't
read that
read
in
it
85.
until.
Oh, wait, that's right. That was the same. Okay. Goonies came out on the
Yep.
7th, which was a Friday. My birthday was on the 11th. That was my birthday party. I took all my friends to the premiere of Goonies on Friday
Huh?
night, and then we had a sleepover, which was kind of fun. And then that must have been the summer I read The Dark Tower because we went to Long Beach Island for like 2 weeks. And I had started reading Stephen. I could tell you what the exact day I bought it, because if I go to my little library, I have my original book with the receipt as a bookmark still in it.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Which most of my books, I always use the receipt as the
The
bookmark
bookmark, yeah,
so I can know when I bought the book and read it. But
that is
I read
awesome.
Stephen King. I think I did almost all of them in order, but I may have jumped ahead for the Gunslinger because I was so interested in it.
Yeah.
But that book
Well, and
is
that was
perfect.
that was also published in some magazines before the actual book, if I
Yeah.
remember right. It's kind of like Charles Dickens style publishing.
Yeah, he did that with a lot of them.
Hmm.
And there, I and Andy, if I were to go into that closet behind me, I could get you those magazines because I have them all.
Oh, you have those too.
Yep.
Oh,
I have the
that's
original
awesome.
first edition publications of all the Gunslinger stories in those magazines, as well as I have a like a bunch of the stories that were in um, different anthologies,
Oh,
Skeleton Key
yep.
and the Four Seasons. I have
Or Skeleton Crew.
Skeleton Crew. I'm sorry, right? Skeleton
Yep.
Crew. You're absolutely right. And for the Four Seasons, I have one of those stories, I think, as well in the thing. And I showed you some of my original.
Yeah.
I got to meet Stephen King one time. That was amazing.
I saw him speak one time. He did a thing in the when what book was that came out? Under the Dome came out. He did a book tour,
Under the
and it was like
Dome.
a speaking tour that I went up to Minneapolis, and it was in a small theater and heard him talk for a couple hours, which was pretty cool. But
That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. I saw him at Jacob Javits for National Book Convention.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad paid for us to go in the morning and we saw him speak.
Hmm.
And it was my birthday. It was on my birthday. And then I told you this story
Oh,
before.
perfect.
He was walking down the thing, and my
Yeah.
crazy dad, who didn't give a fuck about, I mean, my father was intimidated by no one.
Yeah.
He walked up to him and he goes, Stephen King, you're amazing. He goes, my name is Ray Foley. He gives him a couple of his magazines, of course, a couple of his own books, because that's what my dad loved to do that. There you go. I'm your equal.
Of
I wrote a
course. We're
cocktail recipe book. Yeah.
we're peers.
Yeah, we're peers. We're both authors. Who the fuck are you, Stephen King? What the fuck? You take a shit
Yeah.
just like me. And then he started talking to him and he goes, my son has some stuff he'd like to sign, but we left it downstairs in the bag check. He goes, Billy, go get those books. I'll hang out here and talk with Stephen. And and Stephen King's like, okay, sure. And they talked for about 10 minutes while I ran, sweating my ass off through
Sprinting,
Jacob Javits,
yes.
sprinting to get my books, came back up. And when I left, it was just my father and Stephen King.
Oh, and I bet you got back and there was 50 people there or 100.
No, there was like 500 people, the entire place. This is a book
Oh,
convention.
of course. He's
Stephen
freaking
King
the
is on the
Beatles. Yeah.
floor. Dude, I
Oh,
got back
God.
up and I was like, what happened? It didn't register for a second. I thought something was happening. And I was
Uh-huh.
like, what's going on? And they were like, Stephen King's over there. So I said, yeah, he's waiting for me. And they were like, what? And I pushed, I was, fuck it, this is my chance. I
Yeah.
fucking pushed through there, got to there. He signed all my books. He talked to me because I had got a chance to
How
chat
how
with him a
old was
little
this?
bit.
Yeah, how
I was
old were you
probably
when this was going on?
15. I was probably 15.
Oh my God, that's amazing. I've never you've never told me that story. That's super
Yeah.
cool.
Well, because now what I'm telling you, I remember that I had after the speech, they let us come up because there were not that many. It cost a lot of money to go here. You know, you had to
Yeah.
be in this special thing.
Hmm.
And I went up and I talked to him. I said, "What's your favorite short story? Are you going to do more with the gunslinger?" I think I asked more about that or something. And then when I saw him on the floor, he was like, "Oh yeah, I talked to you before." I think that was the reason why, may have been the
Oh,
reason why he, you know,
uh-huh.
because I'm kind of recognizable. I'm like a very tall, redheaded dude.
Yeah.
And but he was totally nice. He signed my books. And I'll also say that he gave zero fucks that there were 500 people around him. He didn't care. He just stood there. And people were like, "Hey, Stephen." And he was like, "I'll get to you. Relax. It's all good."
And that well this must have been that must have been like when he was at his peak of
Yeah, dude.
popularity. That had to be
That's
damn
why I'm
close to the
saying
peak.
it wasn't just like a couple. Like imagine just Stephen King on the street. Now
Yeah.
imagine Stephen King at a
In a
book
book, yeah.
convention
At a book convention, yeah.
where everyone knew he was there,
Yeah.
right? Like they knew he was speaking that morning. So
And
everyone's
at
like, we might see Stephen King today.
and at that point he was probably that was probably 6 or 7 years in a row of him being
Yeah.
the top selling author in the world at that
Yep.
point.
No security, nothing.
Man, what a different world we are in now compared to
Walking
that.
by himself. And also you know what he looks like. He is also very recognizable. He's
Yes.
also 6'4"
Yeah, I was gonna say
and
very tall and
big dude.
lanky and
Yep.
yeah, and a very unique looking guy. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, you don't he's an easy guy to pick out for sure. Yeah.
He loves doing that.
Uh-huh.
Looking scary. And then I went to Stephen King's house one time too.
Just out front or actually in the house?
No, I didn't go. I didn't
Yeah.
go in it. In Bangor, Maine, we went.
Yeah.
The Sedlacks took me, and we
Hmm.
drove through. We saw the radio station.
Hmm.
We looked
I
around.
think he finally sold that radio station. I think I
Yeah,
remember reading in the last year or two.
yeah. But his house is really interesting because of course, every Stephen King fan has seen pictures of it with the
Yeah,
gate and
takes pictures
everything.
by the gate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but when I went, it was like you're in a little neighborhood. Go around a corner. There's Stephen King's house. What's across the street from Stephen King's house? Some dude. Who lives next to Stephen King? Some
It's
lady
just
with in a three
some
bedroom
random guy out
house,
mowing his lawn. Yeah.
right? But this is the secret to it is when you look at a picture of it, it doesn't look that big. But then when you're at it, you realize because the front of
Sure,
it's
it's
only like this wide, but the
yeah.
back of it is like it goes back.
It's expansive. Well,
Yes, it's a
I
big
mean,
house. It's very
he's
big.
another example of a guy that doesn't need to work and doesn't need to keep making money, but he keeps putting stuff out. I mean, he's never going to stop till he's in the grave. So,
That's true. But you know what? I think Stephen King has done perhaps a fair bit more for writers and people
oh
since the
yeah,
very beginning of his
yeah,
career.
yep.
Stephen King has been giving back, has been
I mean, hell,
helping those who
he was a
helped
teacher
him.
for a long
He
time.
was
I
a
mean,
teacher.
yeah.
Yes, he's a good guy, Stephen King.
Hmm.
He has been a philanthropist for many decades and
Yep.
helped a lot of people,
Hmm.
like you and me, Ando. Would we be
I
here
don't
without
know.
Stephen King? He's the
Well,
man.
I probably would not have actually, honestly, because he got me into a lot of this stuff that we're currently into.
Yeah, he's found. I mean, Stephen King is foundational for American pop culture,
Oh yeah.
film, music, everything. He
Hmm.
incorporated all of that into his writing, right? Isn't that why we all loved it? Because he'd mention
Yeah.
songs and
I mean,
play,
he's the he is, I mean, I hate using this pun, but he is the king of pop culture. He really
yeah,
is, because
yeah,
all of his books, and I've had to convince so many people that I know that are pop culture fans, like, oh, I don't like horror. I'm like, no, read Stephen King. You will love it. It's just the pop
yeah.
culture references alone are always amazing, and how he incorporates it into the
Always,
stories. Hell, that's what the Dark
definitely.
Tower is, for crying out loud.
Yep,
Pop
it's the
culture.
best. Well, Ando, I think we've come to the end. I just realized we've been talking for almost an hour and a half.
So I
Um,
think we said that would be a quick 45 minutes or an hour. Or
or I should say I've been talking for an hour and a half. I'm going to go see my kid and my wife.
yeah, well, hey, it's your birthday. You needed to
Yeah.
have, it's your birthday pod. It's a special occasion.
I must ramble on, Frodo.
Yes.
Bilbo.
I think you definitely have to go with Gandalf the Red. You just keep growing that stuff out and
I
it's
like
gonna
it.
happen. Yeah.
Maybe that'll be my Halloween costume next year.
We'll get you a big ass
Um,
robe. It'll be perfect.
there you go. Hey, do we have any further YouTubes or shout outs or anything before we go, just to say thanks to anyone who popped by or anything?
Nope, we don't have any other no
All
other
right.
chats. We're
Well,
down to one viewer, so
that's probably you.
we peaked. Yes, that
I
is
know.
me.
I know. We gotta pump this pump it. Are you still on the Twitter?
Yes.
Maybe one day try to put a couple. Do you think people follow the links on the Twitter I don't know, because I don't do much
Um,
marketing anymore of the
you
pod.
know, just the other day I shared back when we were doing Severance, I shared a couple things. And I just the other day had somebody respond to it and said nice or solid or something. So I don't know how much interaction it got. Oh, 341 people saw that. So I mean, it's not a tiny amount, but
All right. Well, if you ever want to post to Twitter,
yeah,
go
I'll
ahead,
keep doing
Andy.
that. I always forget to. I mean, I'm not on there all the time, but I do go on there
Yeah.
occasionally. I just don't, I just gotta get in the habit of doing that more often. I just don't think about it.
Well, ladies and
I
gentlemen,
will.
Ando,
Yes.
thank you for spending time with me. You have clocked almost 6 hours of podcast this week. You need to take a break.
No.
Um, and it's only Wednesday. And by the way, I want to tell you, we may have a special guest for Duster, a very special guest
Are you kidding
who
me?
got back to me. I'm not kidding you.
Well, I looked at the
So
Facebook page and I thought it was looked legit.
yeah, I think we're going to have a very special guest for Duster. So stay tuned, folks. Thank you for listening. DVRpodcast.com. Andy, you're the best. Solo, we love you.
Happy birthday again, and happy birthday from everyone at that listen, all of the people that listen, and all of the other hosts. I guarantee they all wish you happy birthday as well.
Well, I want to take a very special, I want to thank Gina. I want to thank Jenny. I want to thank Brett. I want to thank Andy, Heath, everyone who podcasts with us, who's a patron, Bill, all the Manny, Kellen, you're
Mike,
amazing. Mike, Grandpa James, we love you. You're fantastic. Thank you for putting a nice post today. And I just appreciate everybody and love you all. And I'm going to go eat some food. I got time for me to ramble on, baby.
and go build some Lego. You've earned it.
Oh, yeah. Peace out.